different audience now.
Right.
With all due respect, we talk about this all the time. I grew up in Madison Square Garden, Backlund, Morocco.
Mm-hmm.
You could, the Backlund Morocco match would get booed out of the arena now.
Right.
You know, my opinion, right? And as much
You're right.
as I loved it.
And Morocco was one of the most versatile, greatest heels of all time.
Some of the greatest, listen, I'm a WWE guy, grew up a WWE guy or WWF guy. But when you watch, today's audience couldn't stand for it.
No,
And
but
it's hard to be a
The
writer.
attention span's not there.
But can I interrupt you about that? Underneath that, they had Dusty and Superstar, the bull rope match. I'm sweet too sour. Look at the 22-inch pythons. And Dusty, I'm the working man, brother. I'm the working man, brother. I'm going to kick his ass, brother. Who went to see Morocco against Backlund? They went to see Superstar against Dusty.
Yeah.
They built that thing around. I could tell you a story, and I don't know if I should, but I will.
All right, that's what I want to hear.
You know how Backlund became champion?
Go ahead, hit us with it. Well, I will tell you this. What I do know is that Vince called
Eddie
and said, "Hey, Eddie, I'm looking for a baby."
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, you're
And then he goes,
absolutely
"Hey,
right.
I got this guy Bob Backlund." He said,
No,
okay, you got it. It's on you now."
I'm there. I was a surrogate son.
Okay.
I fished. Do you think this was a tough job? I'm Mike Graham's partner and his best friend, and his father's flying me to towns, and Mike is driving. Okay?
Yeah.
Because I knew a secret that nobody else knew, except Terry Funk and Jim Barnett.
And Monty and Faro in about
Yeah,
1 minute.
yeah. So, Eddie calls me one day and said, "Let's go fishing." We used to fish a lot. He said, "Let's go fishing. Be in the office at 11 o'clock. I come up, 11 o'clock. I'm talking. He said, "Let's go." Phone rings. The story you just said is exactly the truth. But Eddie says, "No, the guy you want," because his tag team partner was Steve Keirn. He said, "The guy you want is Steve Keirn." Because his dad was a war hero. He was a prisoner of war twice. Are you aware of that? In World War II and in Vietnam. You know what his job was in Vietnam? To see how close a missile could get to a plane.
Holy cow.
He spent 5.5 years with John McCain in prison, right?
Sounds reasonably safe.
He said, "You need to go with Keirn because Keirn's a better speaker."
Wow.
Okay?
So,
And
not to interrupt.
Wow.
So he's looking for someone, and is he looking for Backlund?
he's
Or-
looking for Backlund because he's watched the TV.
Gotcha, but he's like, no, Keirn's the guy.
Keirn's the
Gotcha.
guy because they were tag team partners.
Understood.
They were the Florida Tag Team Champions. And Eddie said, "No, Vince, I think you're making a mistake." And he said, "Eddie, I'll get him over." He said, "You're going to have a hard time getting him over. Keirn is instant heat with the father. You get a foreign heel, talk about his father, big deal. He spent 9 years as a prisoner of war. America is the shits, okay?" He said, I guarantee you I'll get him over." And he said, "No, I don't think you will." He said, "Eddie, I'll bet you $100 I will." He said, "Okay, the bet's on." You remember what you said about Morocco and Backlund?
Mm-hmm.
Do they stack the cards? Pedro, Bruno,
You're right.
Superstar, Dusty,
Backlund, listen,
brought
from the
Superstar back?
beginning,
Yeah.
Snooker.
every card was stacked with Backlund.
So you mean to tell me, because we spent five or so years of our junior high school hating Bob Backlund, we could have had Steve Keirn as a villain
We
coming
could
in?
have had Steve Keirn as a babyface.
As a
Babyface.
babyface. Oh, okay.
So let me ask you this: in
All
your
right.
opinion,
Yeah.
knowing what you
that would
know
have been
now,
weird.
should Steve Keirn have become WWF champion?
I think knowing what he knows now, Superstar Billy Graham should have never lost that belt.
The difference was, I love Steve Keirn. He's one of my dearest friends. We grew up, him, me, and Mike. Nobody at that period was as charismatic as Superstar Billy Graham. The greatest interviews of all times. My greatest interviews, my list is King Curtis. There's nobody that topped King Curtis, okay? Everybody stole for King Curtis. Then it's Superstar Billy Graham, Dusty Rhodes, Blackjack Mulligan, and Hulk Hogan. Superstar should have turned babyface against Ivan Koloff, Stars and Stripes.
So, but I ask you then, you said your top three, Vince Sr. was in your top three smartest guys.
Right.
Why didn't Vince Sr. have the foresight to say, look, Superstar's he's already turning face regardless what's already happening?
Because he was the most honorable man I ever met in the wrestling business. He told Bob the day he came in and the day he was going to win the belt.
Wow.
And in my heart, he knew it was the wrong thing to do for business. But he said, I gave my word, and I'm going to keep my word. And that's why he stacked the cards. Because those cards were so stacked, you don't think those guys were getting mid-card payoffs. No. You know what I mean? They were walking out of the gardens with a lot less money for Vince when Bruno was the champion or Pedro was the champion. There was times, like I said, where he had Dusty and Superstar. He had Pedro. He had Bruno.
And he had Andre.
Andre. I mean, still had Calhoun. He had guys on that card and his underneath cards. And the other thing that he did, and a lot of people forget this, he was bringing in Piper. He was bringing in Flair when they were brand new guys who were all over those magazines, like you said you guys grew up on.
When he would bring Valentine in, I'd lose my mind.
Okay, so I mean, there it is.
But he would have Flair and he would have Piper on the undercards.
But here's
and a lot of people don't realize that.
So he promises Backlund the belt, right? He keeps his word. Why did he yank it from him? Why did he had it on for like 5 years, right? Like 5
and a half years.
He was trying to get him over.
5.5 years?
No, I don't think he was trying to get him over. I think that there was. People don't realize this. Do you guys recall the incident when Pedro Morales was wrestling Blackjack Mulligan and Blackjack almost got killed? He got stabbed in the ring.
Yeah.
A Puerto Rican rolled in the ring and cut him from the top of his hip to his boot.
700 stitches.
And the guy pissed on the knife, and Jack almost died. I think he said, and you got to realize, back in 1957, the big riot was Rocca and Edward Caponte against Dick the Bruiser and Dr. Billy Graham. That started the 14. You had to be 14 years old or older to get in the gardens. He saw that again coming, and they at this time, they had gone through a huge federal lawsuit on monopoly in the 50s. They didn't want any more under the microscope from the government.
That's really interesting.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then I want to talk about the man that you didn't mention in your top three, Vince McMahon Jr.
Oh,
We'll be right back.
We'll be riding high. Yes, I will.